welcome to Build University. On behalf of the Iowa Intermediary Network and Iowa Skilled Trades, we are excited for you to be on this work-based learning opportunity to gain more career information on the carpentry profession during our panel discussion today. If you have questions or would like to ask our panelists questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to submit them. Now let's meet our panelists. Let's start with Mark.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name's Mark Smith, and I'm with the Carpenters Union, Local 106, and I'm sitting here out at our training center out in Altoona, and you'll get to meet a couple of other folks that are out here today as well that are in the apprenticeship program. I'm a career carpenter. I jumped into the trades 18 years old, fresh out of high school, and I call myself lucky with that because I didn't have a plan right out of high school, and I was fortunate enough to kind of stumble across this opportunity. I was actually recruited another apprentice that had just come out of the program. It was kind of a friend of a friend of a friend type of scenario, and introduced me to the trades in general and the apprenticeship program and carpentry, general construction, and really the rest is history. 28 years later, here I am. My role, I don't work with my tools anymore. I work with a cell phone, and I really enjoy that. I get a lot of chance, a lot of opportunity to do outreach, work with folks both on and off the job, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Looking forward to answering some questions.
Hi, I'm Jake Miller. I work for Dean Snyder Construction, Clear Lake, Iowa. We do residential, commercial, and industrial construction start to finish. Been with Snyder's 8 years. I've done construction for 20. I started building stuff when I was a kid, and I haven't stopped. I went to trade school for masonry, and then got into general construction after that with a little bit of time in the Army. And it's every day's satisfying and good. It's good to build.
Nathan, do you want to go next?
Oh, sorry. My name's Nathan Griffel. I'm a fourth year, about ready to turn out apprentice at the Local 106. I've been in construction pretty much most of my life. Right now I'm working for General, and pretty much do a little bit of everything in the carpentry part.
How's it going? Dylan Bailey. I'm also a fourth year apprentice in the Local 106 program. I've been doing carpentry since I was about 15 years old. I work for HSI. We mainly focus on doing the structural aspect on the commercial side. And besides that, I've worked for other companies doing smaller odds and ends, finish work. It's a vast variety of stuff that you can really do in the union.
Well, we appreciate everyone being on the call today. I'm going to start off with, let's start off with Mark. Can you tell us the difference between residential, industrial, and commercial carpentry?
Sure, you bet. That's kind of a lengthy conversation, so I'll try to keep it pretty short and focused. But oftentimes when folks think of carpentry, they think wood, and even though that it's extremely accurate, the carpentry trade and construction doesn't stop at your residential building, where you see rows and rows of houses or remodels and things like that. So there's that market and that side of carpentry is very unique all on its own. It's pretty much the same processes over and over and over until you get to the finishes part where you'd see, custom changes to houses where they get their unique appearance and things like that. A lot of carpenters that get into that side of the trade often stay into that their entire career, and that's great. There's a lot of opportunity there, and it's a market that a lot of folks choose to work in. almost all construction of wood, right? So a lot of truss setting, wall building, and then doing the fine finishes in houses, setting your cabinets, setting your countertops, doors and hardware, that kind of stuff. Now to go to the other side, to the commercial side, the way we like to describe that is we work on buildings where someone goes to work or play. So it's pretty much everything but a house. It could be your local Taco John's that you're getting down on the corner. It could be a new bank. It could be a parking garage. And the other folks that are on the call, Jake, Dylan, and Nathan, they can all give examples of where they're currently working at. It could be the next high rise downtown. If anybody's been on the call, it's been to say Wells Fargo Arena, to a concert or an event. That entire project was done. The majority of the work on that project is probably carpentry work. The difference between the two, the types are, we get into a lot of concrete work as well in the commercial world. So the foundation work and the vertical walls, where you see one story after another being stacked on top of each other. Those are all carpenters working on that, as well as some other trades. You got iron workers and laborers and so forth too in there. But it's definitely a part of carpentry that a lot of folks don't often think of. And the other gentlemen, Dylan and Nathan, that they can share what they do as well. They work a lot with metal stud and drywall, and we do ceilings and that kind of stuff. But in a snapshot, that's the difference. Residential is wood with houses mostly, and the commercial work is a various different amounts of materials, concrete, metal. It goes on and on. And the difference there also is almost every project is unique. It's going to have its own design, pretty extravagant plan, and a long-lasting finished product.
It's great information, Mark. So actually getting onto that, can Jake and then Nathan and Dylan, so I'm going to call on you, Jake, first. But so tell us where you are working right now. What project are you working on?
Well, right now we're renovating / finishing a 33 unit apartment building with commercial space on the bottom. The building was started and took over and we're finishing it. We're doing everything from rough framing to our trim work, drywall, roofing. There's a lot going on.
A big project.
Yep, yeah, even elevator work, site work. There's a little bit of everything.
Great. So Nathan and Dylan, are you guys working on the same projects being apprentices, or are you in different projects?
I'm on a different project. I'm actually just started out at Facebook here in Altoona, doing a unistrut and building hacks and a lot more other things too.
Yeah, currently right now I am at Metro Waste Facility out in Grimes. They're just getting that geared up and going. It's about a 3-story precast building with some exterior heavy gauge framing metal. Besides that, that's about the amount of work that we do. Is a lot of bigger rised buildings and a lot of structural metal.
So I'll throw this question out to Mark or even Nathan and Dylan. You guys are apprentices. So can you tell us about that pathway of getting into carpentry through an apprenticeship program?
Yeah, so on the Carpenters Union aspect, yeah, I mean, you can get a hold of a business agent rep or whoever to get your foot into the door. And then from there, they give you a list of contractors, you call them, and then you can get an intent to hire. After you get your intent to hire, you could start getting enrolled into the apprenticeship program. So once every 3 months, you'll go to school, and each class is a different training on how you're going to better your future. And besides that, you get paid to go to school, and then all the rest of your time is on the job training. Yeah, and then also you get raises once every 6 months.
That is definitely a bonus. Mark, do you want to explain a little bit about how you hire apprentices? Do they come directly in from high school, or do you take them from trade school? How do students get into the apprenticeship?
You bet. And so that's a great question, because it's important to know that apprentices come in all shapes, sizes, forms, experience level, age. It doesn't really matter. We work with, and it's important to know that apprentices are employees of contractors. So like Jake, he mentioned he works for Dean Snyder. If they have apprentices that work for them, Dylan works for HSI, Nathan works for White's company. So you actually are an employee of those contractors that we were talking about, full time. The apprenticeship is the school that you come to. Our arrangement's a 4-year program. So these folks are coming in here for 1 week every approximate 3 months. Okay. So they're going to, let's use Dylan, for example. He works for HSI. Once he got into the program, he's going to go to work full time. He's going to come to class for a week, and he's going to go right back to work for HSI again the following Monday. As far as recruitment goes, how do we get a hold of these folks? So it's important to know that, because we're not an employer, the apprenticeship program, we're not hiring anyone. We're out there through avenues just like today, doing outreach through forms of this. We're right on the job sites talking to folks. So whether they have very little experience, maybe they're on a site and they're just getting into the trade, or maybe they're a 25-year experienced journey person. To come and maybe they've worked in the trade in various different aspects, but not specifically carpentry. So they still need, so let's say they've got 20 years experience, but they still need some very specific training for carpentry. They can still come into the apprenticeship program at that age and that level. Just like I say, the differences in age and experience level. So folks find their way to our program as early as 18 years old, like my own personal story, fresh out of high school with 0 experience, to 25 years old. You've done a little bit of this and you've done a little bit of that, tried out some school, tried out a different career path, maybe even if it was an office job of some sorts, and just this doesn't work for me. I want to be out there. I want to be in the elements. I want to use my hands. I want to create, because we're all artists to an extent. I think Jake, Dylan, and Nathan will all agree to that. That's what really keeps us going in these trades, is because we get to see what we do, and it's very satisfying. We get to drive around and point at all these buildings, right, and bug our kids and say, I worked on that, and I built that, and I remember when. They get tired of hearing it, but it's a very satisfying career and trade, and that's what keeps most of us in it for the long haul.
Great. So I want to ask a question, and I'm going to start with you, Jake, on this one. So students can take like carpentry classes in high school if their schools offer it, but what other advice or what can these students be doing now to increase their carpentry skills?
Well, there's job openings everywhere, so find somebody and say, I'm ready to work. Tired of phones, tired of video games. Let's get outside and do something. So if you want to, you can find somebody and they'll be glad to have you.
Great. Nathan, Dylan, did you guys have any, like I said, any other high school classes or anything that you did outside of school that helped prepare you this way?
I mean, I took all the shop classes that I could in my high school, which helped me out. They're basics. When you get onto a construction job site, you really want to know how to read a tape measure and hustle. And as long as you have ambition and hustle and can read a tape measure, you're going to make it.
Nathan, anything to add?
I guess it depends on what schools you go to. I mean, I did shop metal class, and plus they also had a home building where we'd go off campus and build homes when I was younger. I don't know if they do that very much anymore, but I'm one of the older apprentices, probably. I started in at 32. So I had a
He's
lot
that
of
guy I
work
was
experience.
talking about.
I had a lot of work experience before I came in. So
Well, and
So if,
obviously it's never
I
too
could-
old to start. Go ahead, Mark, sorry.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And kind of to your point, Terry, what do you need to know or do prior to? Of course, there's always, especially when you're at that entry level and, finding a career path, when there's opportunities at school, whether it's taking some extra math courses or those building trades classes like Dylan mentioned, him and Nathan both. Anything that you can do to be kind of already dialed in working with your hands. But Dylan kind of hit on it a little bit, and I think Jake would agree with this too, is it really comes down to your ambition, your work ethic, your willingness to learn, because nobody's born a carpenter, nobody's born a plumber, nobody's born an electrician, right? So the trades are going to teach you these things as you come along. And the reason I say that is because if a lot of the job sites that we just talked about earlier, and the types of work we can do that we do, if you're driving around town and you see these things, that sometimes they can be very intimidating. And as an individual, especially a young individual, you can think, I can't do that. I could never do that. Well, everybody here and everybody on that site had a first day. And believe it or not, even for some of the tenured experienced people, say with 20, 30 years experience, when they go to a new site that maybe it's a new task that they're going to do, they're kind of switching gears a little bit. It can be intimidating even at that level. But the important part to know is that it can all be done and it can all be accomplished. It really comes down to the willingness. So
And
don't be intimidated by it.
And it sounds like, I mean, there's things students can do in high school. There's things that they can do afterwards. Jake, I loved your idea of go find somebody. Job shadow, ask around. I know that there's that want and need. So Mark, maybe to your point, and how do you recruit women to come into this profession?
One of the best things that we can try to do is an example. We're fortunate that we do have some females in the organization and in the trades, and that's the best example we can always do. If we can get those folks to see the other females that are already doing this, that shows, hey, this can be done. That is great. Of course, we just plain talk about it a lot, right? We really try to emphasize that this isn't. These trades these days, all trades, I'll speak for all of them, not just carpentry, but all of them, it's not necessarily the stereotype, the brawny, rough guy out there that's doing these trades. It's a very technical and technological industry these days. There's a ton of safety involved, so that there are better ways to move materials, so that it doesn't have to be a one-man band, if you will, to be super strong and grindy and things like that. Anybody can do any of these trades.
Great. Well, here, we just have a question too. And this one is a question that I was kind of interested in. So Jake, I'm going to go with you first. Have you ever ran into a major problem that halted you from completing a project, or I'm sure maybe COVID had a impact on your business, but have you ever ran into that problem that's really put a halt to a project?
Yeah, every job has problems. I mean, putting stuff together is the easy part. It's getting through the problems. But if you're not by yourself, and there's always somebody around the corner with more experience than you, and you just don't have to do it by yourself. And there is a solution. If we can put people on the moon, we can put a building together. So
I like that quote. That should be on a t-shirt, right?
yeah, well, that's what I say, this is easy. We'll figure it out.
Nathan, Dylan, have you guys ever, on your work sites so far in your career, have you guys ever had a problem that you've run into? Kind of how did you deal with it, the adversity on it?
There's been a few times like I've been around it. It just depends on the project I've been on. There's been issues with the way stuff was engineered to fit and it just didn't work. There's a couple like down at the parking ramps, and there's some other things, other places too that they didn't like it, so they wanted to change it to make it work better. So there's been some delays. It just depends on what you're doing.
So that's a lot of customer service skills then too, huh? That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Dylan, have you ever run into anything? And then Mark, I'll let you, if you have something to
Yeah.
chime in there.
Most definitely. I mean, multiple job sites. You're always going to have your little kinks that you need to work out. There's been a couple job sites where it's completely halted the job, set it back a couple weeks, months. You just kind of got to roll with the punches, and you might have to send your guys to a different job site to keep the ball rolling or take care of some other tasks at hand. But besides that, I mean, unless you get a solution to the problem and a quick fix that's okay with the engineer and the people building and all of that, besides that, you just kind of got to go with it.
I can think of one thing that we dealt with here just most recently that shut some jobs down was Iowa winter. It was a true Iowa winter for a change. You know, some years we get really fortunate where the projects get to just march right along through the whole winter with no delay, really. You know, they're really mild, but sometimes they really just jump up, smack us in the face like it did, you know, within the last month. Hard to believe, even though it was 73 degrees yesterday, but you know, a lot of these guys are out there just really enduring the brutal cold trying to get something done, and eventually it ends up shutting down a few job sites. And scheduling is probably the biggest thing for job sites in general. Labor is very, very expensive on a job. You know, so everybody that's on this call here, they're a large portion of the cost because those skills don't come cheap. And so when they set the schedule for a job, they run them on pretty thin margins these days. There's not a lot of extra, you know, as far as, you know, well, if it takes 4 people, let's put 6 on it. You know, they're just most typically you don't see that. So if, you know, if somebody in the crew calls in sick or just doesn't feel like coming to work on a Thursday after whatever they did on a Wednesday night, that can really dramatically affect the production and the efficiency of the whole job site, because the entire job site depends on one system being done so the next system can be done. So that becomes a real reality in today's construction world.
So talking about that construction, Mark, and maybe this question can go to you and then maybe Jake, what does safety play a role in your work on a daily basis?
I think it'd probably be best to let Jake go first on that one. Like I said, these guys are out there real world in it every day. So safety is definitely right in their wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Jake?
safety, you know, we do a lot of big jobs. Rating gets us the jobs we have. And so, I mean, safety will make or break us, and a lot of other companies too. You know, if you have a fine or someone gets hurt bad. And so, you know, we have a safety guy, and we work on it every day. We have a lot of safety incentives, and we supply safety equipment, and we have safety training, and it's definitely, besides showing up, it's the most important thing you do. And every job has a different safety concern. So but like I said, you're never alone. There's always someone to help keep you safe.
And I think it'd probably be good to have maybe Dylan and Nathan expand on that. They can talk about some of the specific safety training they've had through the course of the apprenticeship program. They're walking out the door with some certifications and things like that, you know, for very specific tasks.
Dylan, do you want to elaborate on what types of safety you've been taught so far?
Yeah, so first coming in, you got to take an OSHA 30 class. It's 30 hours of OSHA, the construction side. So I think it's like 350 pages of this book that you got to read front to back. You take a test on it, and then you get certified. And on top of that, we get ICRA training, which is pretty much working in the hospital industry and how to contain particles in the air so you're not infecting patients that you're working around. Besides that, so like right now, the biggest thing on job sites that we're seeing is wearing masks. I mean, you always got to have your hard hat, safety glasses, high vis, tied off if you're over 10 feet.
Nathan, do you want to add anything for your safety?
It's 6 feet down. But there's also lift training, aerial lift training. If you don't know how to run it, the hall shows you. If not, the job sites will show you. A lot of job sites are different. Some places they don't let you use ladders. They only want you to use lifts now because it's safer. It just depends on the company, the job sites, and like fall protection, and depends on what you're doing.
Very
Like
good.
like me up on when I was doing the parking ramp, I was wearing full point harnesses tied off the gang forms, and that 30, 50, 60, 70 feet in the air. So it just depends on where you're at.
Wow. Well, thank you guys for the safety lesson there too. So we are getting to about our 30-minute mark, and we have a quick little promo video from Iowa Skilled Trade or Build University that we want to go over at the end. So I just want to quick get to each one of you, and I want you to give your little like elevator speech, or if someone wants to get into the carpentry or your business, what do you want to tell them? So Jake, let's start with you.
Well, carpentry is just one facet of construction. Everything we do has construction's part of it, from your TVs, your houses, where you go, the factories that make your cars, construction's everywhere, and carpentry is just one facet of it. So there's just lots out there, lots of opportunity.
Great. Nathan, let's go to you next.
I guess the way I look at it is if you like work with your hands, working outside, inside, don't mind weather, enjoy working, just get a hold of the carpentry trades, because there's all different types of stuff you can do. If you want to just do specialized work, or you can be a well-rounded and do a little bit of everything. It just depends on what kind of work you want to do.
Great. Dylan?
Yeah, I'd say if you don't want to go through that 4-year college, you don't want to, go through more schooling, you already gone through this far, why not go get paid to learn something that's going to be, at the end of the day, you can sit back and say, hey, I built that. And then 30 years down the road, it's still standing there. That really means a lot to somebody's work.
Very good, Dylan. Mark, I'm going to give you the last words on that.
Yeah, I think these guys hit it right on the head. And I guess my best piece of advice would be, like I said earlier, don't be intimidated. Don't be hesitant to jump in there and try it. It's like anything. And here's a really great point: is the trades in general and carpentry. It's a great place to try a career field. It's not for everyone. And just like say being a veterinarian isn't for everyone, or being a doctor, or being an accountant. It's not for everyone, but it's a really great way, especially as a young person, to jump in there, try it. There's a lot of people that will give you an opportunity. Usually they come with not a lot of strings attached, and even if you haven't done anything like it ever in your life, I guarantee it'll be an experience that you'll never forget. And most often people latch onto it and they take off running with it, just because of what everybody on here today has said. I mean, it's so it's such a satisfying career. Yeah, it's hard work. There can be some long days, there can be some really crappy days, you know, just like any career field, but there's some really great days as well. There's a lot of good camaraderie with your crews, and you know, good way to help support yourself and your families. Just get out there and try it. Seek out a responsible looking way to try it, you know, whether that's a contractor that you, maybe it's somebody you're familiar with, or it's in your hometown, or you know someone. Give it a shot. Come see us at the apprenticeship. We'll walk you through the steps on getting in that way. But just give it a shot. Don't be intimidated.
Great. Well, so Terry. Oh. Thank you, panelists, for that. We do have a quick video, like I said, that we're going to share. Terry, we can't see the video part.
Sorry about that. I don't know why it wouldn't play it.
You just have to restart your screen share while it's playing.
Okay.
Yep. So
Go ahead and do that again.
to bring it to the front of all of your open items on your computer.
Let's try this again.
We got it.
All right. Is my screen stop sharing? Okay. Perfect. All right. On behalf of the Iowa Intermediary Network and Iowa Skilled Trades, thank you so much for attending today's event. We thank our panelists for their time today. Don't forget that in 2 weeks on March 25th will be Build University, our carpentry tour, worksite tour. Go to iowain.org to register. For more information on skilled trades, please go to iowaskilledtrades.com. And to find out more about apprenticeships, earnandlearn.gov. We so appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And please check out the Build My Future on April 14th. Talk to your school counselor, talk to your intermediary to get more information. Again, thank you so much.